Many college football programs are going to cash in on current Florida players and some of their commitments once Billy Napier is let go.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we are brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just download the app today. We're going to be talking about several different recruits for Florida that I've had a chance to interview, to see, to scout, talk about why they will be coveted once Billy is eventually let go at the University of Florida, and why some of them, believe it or not, will stay no matter what. Florida is a massive draw, so it'll be a fire sale to a certain degree, but which recruits will end up bailing on UF? We're also going to talk about the current roster. This is weekend number 4 for the Gators in terms of them actually playing games. There's the 4-game rule for redshirting. Do you think some of those players and some of those parents of those players, those around them, are very interested to know what the situation is? There's a lot of tension. They want absolute 100% clarification. Is Billy going to be there or not? We're going to be talking about which players are likely to hit the portal and those that aren't. That is second segment. But the first thing I want to talk about is the overall ramifications of UF changing head coaches. And if you take nothing else from this podcast, again, I am steadfast. 100%. It is a matter of when, not if. I hate saying it like that, but it's just true. Billy Napier gets fired. If you watched any of the LSU game, any of it, you could see areas where things were just unraveling. They're not a well-coached football team in certain areas, not all, but in certain areas, quarterback in particular, which that is obviously important. And they've got a 5-star quarterback who just threw 5 picks. Yes, LSU's good, but come on. And do you really think they were given 100% effort the entire game, all of their players? Just a little bit. You can see cracks in the dam. And if it goes sideways this weekend against the University of Miami down in Miami Gardens, and I think it will, we could see the dam just burst and you could see players quitting. UF's administration will be put in a tough spot, and we've got the bye week. So we start with that. Yes, timing is everything. I expect Napier to get canned. It's not a matter of if he gets fired, it's just when. They have 2 byes. One is after the Miami game, and the other is right before they play the University of Georgia. That's a little later this season. Here's why the administration would strongly prefer they need to wait until before the Georgia game. It's just because, flat out, the 4-game rule. I'll talk about it at length in the next segment before we get to recruiting, but there's no way around it. They're probably in a bad spot if they get just completely destroyed, because one or two things happen, which are both bad for the Gators. Number one, if they don't want to give any definitive answer publicly, that players and their parents, their agents and all that, they're not going to go by, well, just trust this and that all behind it. That doesn't work in today's society. That does not work. You're going to see, if they get hammered, you're going to see kids magically injured and or sitting out. I guarantee it, because they're going to know what's coming. Secondarily, it is awkward for the Florida administration. You want to keep your roster for the next coach. However, as I say on this podcast all the time, recruits and transfers pick coaches, not schools. You can like that. You can hate that. It's just the way it is. Very rarely does a player pick a school regardless of who the coach is. It happens, but not very often. And with a new staff coming in, you're not guaranteed a spot anyway. They may want to cut you. So a lot of guys are going to want to cut bait, redshirt this year, in bold. So let's just discuss that. Brian, how does that work? I get that question all the time. How do they know where they're going? How does all that go? This is how it really works. Now, the NCAA, Congress with all that garbage with the NIL clearinghouse, I haven't heard anything about that. I think it's all for show. All of those things, it's very simple. Everybody's cheating. If you don't think there aren't coaches from other schools right now, and I mean right now, contacting UF players, you're high as a kite. It is going to happen. And it's going to continue to happen because, again, it's not a matter of if he's going to get fired, it's when. And every one of these coaches at other schools, it doesn't matter, but just about everybody's trying to steal everybody's players. They're paid to win. And yes, they're cheating. But Florida is not in a good spot because they're not very good. They're being made fun of nationally, myself included. You're going to see a plethora of these guys at least entertain leaving. Some of them will be guys you don't really care about if you're a UF fan. Some will be pretty good. It'll be random on who wants to stay and who wants to go. I'm not going to guess on the current roster because a lot of that is NIL because that's concrete. How do you get out of these contracts and all that? I don't know how that works because giving a blanket answer for every contract makes no sense. Some guys are going to have some buyout stuff. Like there's going to be some hard-pressed information put into possible litigation scenarios. Maybe it's the Florida coaching fire. Maybe it's somebody else. But eventually one of these players is going to leave a school after their coach got fired, and they're going to get sued by a school. It's coming. The only reason it hasn't happened yet is you're worried about repercussions for future recruiting, but eventually somebody's going to do it. Just saying. Now, you can probably talk about a certain scenario that's gone from Wisconsin to Miami, but that one was on a whole nother level. They were mad because Miami tried to steal their player. So they sued the player, the school, everything else, whatever. But I'm talking about this broadly. You're not honoring the contract, yada, yada. I don't think Florida will do that because Florida is such a difficult school to screw up. They're just going to let it ride, and they'll go get different recruits. Other schools might. But to that end, I expect several players to leave UF. I don't see how it's not going to happen. And just to give an example, obviously DJ Lagway will get contacted. I'm sure he has already. But Jaden Ball, let's just use him as an example. He's one of my favorite running backs in college football. Power back, great contact balance, the ability to use his vision to gain yards that other guys wouldn't get. Do you think after 2 good years at UF, he wouldn't have an opportunity to transfer back into the state of maybe UGA? Who knows? He would have plenty of opportunities. I'm not saying he wants to. I'm not saying he will. But these are the kinds of things that are going to happen constantly. And again, with Napier's situation, because he's so popular with his players, believe it or not, I could see a lot of guys wanting to hit the portal. And whoever ends up getting the University of Florida job, whoever it is, that roster could look a lot different than it is this year. They've got conservatively a top 15 roster in terms of talent, probably top 10. It's not going to look that way in 2026. It's just not. Too many guys are going to leave. And as we get to later in the show, there are also going to be several guys on the recruiting side of this that are going to leave. So we come back. I want to talk a little bit more about how the transfer situation works and why, and we'll delve into recruiting. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Mazda, where they craft cars for those who do more than simply move. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With the all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This show is also brought to you by DoorDash. DoorDash on the weekends, it's great if you're watching football, and we're almost through the weekend again. We're midway through. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP for Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like when you win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more each time you order from DoorDash. These players delivered when it mattered most. So let's break it down. For me, it was Deuce Robinson at Florida State. He had 160 yards and 2 touchdowns in just about a quarter of play. The Noles were rolling, and Deuce Robinson was playing great. So just like Deuce Robinson, he came through for the Noles, no hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, his performance was no fluke, just like it is with DoorDash. So you're going to go out, you're going to look for something great to eat, or you could have it delivered right to your door with DoorDash. And if you keep doing it, you can get up to $250 and $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo code through November 18th. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. And we're about to go into a crazy cycle with the coaching firings about to happen. Kansas State is iffy. Obviously, Florida is iffy. Wisconsin, maybe. We'll see. There are going to be coaches leaving, kids hitting the portal, recruits decommitting. We are on the edge of the brink of just all kinds of craziness in college football. Check it out right here on the Portal Podcast. And to that end, I want to expand a little bit on the portal situation with UF and use it as a broader barometer. Anytime a coach leaves, even an assistant, there's a chance a kid will leave. Again, recruits and transfers pick coaches, not schools. That is the normal way it works. Without exception, you're going to have somebody that wants to leave anytime a coach decides he's bolting. Maybe he goes to the NFL, maybe he's fired, whatever. Sometimes they can talk that player into staying, maybe not. Maybe they change his NIL. But trust me, those conversations happen every time. It's just part of the game of college football. So with UF, I think it will be a very unique scenario on which players decide to stay or decide to leave. And I'm not guessing at all which guys will leave as far as current roster. There is a lot of love for Billy Napier there. From everybody I've ever spoken to, he is a very well-liked player. Now, I'm sure there's a few guys on the team that don't like him or whatever, but they've got over 100 players. With that being stated, he's one of the most popular head coaches from his players of anybody in college football. He's just not a good head coach. It is what it is. So Florida's kind of in an awkward spot, but I'll put a number on it. Conservatively, I expect 5 to 8 players to leave. And here's the key. 5 to 8 is not necessarily a large number, but it'll be 5 to 8 guys they don't want to leave. And then there'll be a few other guys that are walk-ons or somebody that didn't have a chance to play that probably would have left anyway, in addition to that. As I noted in the first part of the show, the 2026 Florida Gators roster will not be as good as the one in 2025. No way. It could be way less. This depends. Who do you hire? How long does it take? Which assistant coaches do you get? Because these guys want to hit the portal, which will be early January. Florida's new staff, whoever it is, will have a very small window, and it's doubtful, very doubtful, that it will be complete by the time the portal opens. So they're not necessarily going to have a relationship with the current Florida players. It's awkward on top of awkward. Every time there's a coaching change for any school, it's the same deal. I'm not picking on UF because every school eventually goes through this. It is what it is. Now, is it possible that NIL could help them keep some of those kids? Sure. That is always on the table. But how many players do you know want to stick around at a school that's coming off a bad season? And they're also sitting there looking at this coach like, well, I've seen this guy on TV, but I don't know him. Parents don't know him, or the guardian, or his high school coach, or his 7-on-7 coach. All those around the individual, if they don't know that person either that's coming in to be the head coach, or at least a few of the assistants, it's rough. So one of the things I expect Florida to do to try to mitigate the transfer portal, no matter which guy they end up hiring, they're going to try to keep 2 or 3 guys off Billy's staff. I would be shocked if they don't because of the portal. And again, it doesn't matter if it's after this week against Miami, they got a bye, or right before the Georgia game when they also have a bye. That would be my guess. And the other thing, I'm sure somebody's going to ask me, who would be the likely interim coach? No idea. You can see anything from a special teams coach, a running back coach, an offensive or defensive coordinator. That's one of the hardest things to predict. But they're also going to try to get somebody that wants to be at Florida to be that individual, knows the place, has been there a long time, somebody they really trust. And it's an important part of it. If you don't get that person to really buy into the whole transition, trying to sell the school to the players on the roster, don't even worry about the recruits. We'll get to that in a second. You're going to lose too many guys on your roster for it to matter. So the interim coach is vital, again, at UF or any other school that will make a transition this year. It's going to happen. Finally, on the portal situation, you could have guys leaving at any time. Remember, when a coach leaves the portal, it's a different deal. Doesn't matter if he leaves voluntarily, fired, whatever, the portal opens up. So I don't know who, what, when, where, and why. I don't know how many days they get with it being in the season. I don't know how that works. There may be a bunch of guys that just finish out the semester, take the red shirt. If they fire him after this week, there are all kinds of possibilities. So it gets a little dicey. Now I want to transition to the players, just a few of them at least, that I know about, that I've been around, that I've scouted, that I know something about their recruitments, all those things that are committed to the Gators. Before I go any further, I am not saying these guys are definitively leaving UF or even definitely leaving UF for a visit, let alone decommitting. I'm just saying these are some of the guys that are getting phone calls guaranteed. They're good players. They have national offer lists. It's UF. Don't be surprised if any of these young men end up somewhere else on National Signing Day. That is the nature of college football. No particular order for that matter. But to that point, let's look at it from a positional standpoint. What is one of the hardest spots to recruit? Defensive tackle. Kendall Graville from Fort Myers High School, national recruit. Some of the schools that he visited besides UF are Texas, Georgia, and Florida State. I guarantee you all those schools will at least kick the tires on that. 285, 290 pounds coming into his junior year, whatever. Got a little bigger. He's over 300 pounds now. That is the kind of guy that's going to get calls from everybody. Will he take visits? I don't know, but really good player. He's from Fort Myers. That's an area that UF has always done well. Do not be surprised if he at least kicks the tires on taking some visits elsewhere. We'll see how that goes. CJ Brono out of Windermere Prep in Orlando, 10-3, 100 meters. Yeah, he's going to have offers. Originally committed to Nebraska. Maybe they're back in play. Penn State, LSU, Florida State, several other schools have been involved. I'd imagine FSU will be one of those. We'll see. I think they would really like to get another really good DB in this class. And the way they're playing with Tony White's defense, Sertan being a DB coach there, Evan Cooper, a couple of guys from the state of Florida, I wouldn't be surprised if CJ gave FSU another look. This is one that I don't like the chances of UF keeping if there is definitely a change. Davian Gross. He's out of Lone Star High School in the greater Dallas area. Could play receiver, could play DB, could play running back. The Gators are recruiting him as a running back, but Oklahoma, Houston, Baylor, numerous other programs want him as well. National recruit. Again, he's a Dallas kid. He's more attached to UF in terms of the people working for UF than he is to school. I don't like their chances of keeping him. Marquez Daniel. It's a kid I met a couple of months ago. He's from the greater Auburn, Alabama area. He lives about 20 minutes from Auburn. That's somebody that is committed to UF, and he told me face-to-face that UF did a great job of recruiting since he was a freshman. Again, relationships with the staff. Who stays on UF staff as Billy gets canned? Is it the right person? I don't know. I guarantee you Auburn will definitely call. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the recruiting list and further expectations for UF. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money because most people can't even name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. 401ks, their properties, investments, that's where Monarch Money comes into play. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. It's all about the one-on-one opportunities for you, personal finance tool. You can bring all your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface with Monarch Money. You can get it on your laptop. You can even do it on your phone. Monarch will build you the opportunity to give an opportunity like to do it today, get it done, have it in one spot, efficient, fast, easy for you to do so you can organize your finances. Monarch does the heavy lift. You don't have to worry about it after you get everything linked, and you can do it in a couple of minutes. So if you're just trying to figure out how much money you got in your 401k, how you want to do everything to set up your granddaughter or your retirement, that is where Monarch Money can help you. So don't let financial opportunities slip. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off the first year, 50% off at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you once again for being around here to watch the Portal Podcast. This is a lot of fun talking about recruiting, decommitments, and everything that's going on. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what's about to happen because there's more coaches about to get fired than you can shake a stick at. Be paying attention to the waiver wire, if you will, with the coaching fraternity because that means players hitting the portal, recruits decommitting. Right here on the Portal Podcast, we'll be talking about all of it. Now, to continue on with UF, KJ Ford is another kid from the greater Dallas area. He plays at Duncanville, top-notch defensive lineman. He could have went to Oklahoma. He could have went to Texas A&M. He could have went to a ton of different schools. He picked UF. Just like I said with Davian Gross, which coach or coaches, as it may be, end up remaining with Florida after Billy gets canned? Which one? It's hard to say how that's going to go, but I think there's a pretty good chance that all these guys will have at least one person on the staff to have a relationship with to give them a chance. I think UF will be smart. Whoever the new head coach is, he'll keep people at back office, etc., to the best of his ability. But it is random. And this kid's really good. KJ Ford is a powerful defensive lineman. He's over 250 pounds. He's athletic. He's played at Duncanville. He's well coached. His phone's going to be ringing. Absolutely. Hezzy Kent out of Brunswick, Georgia. One of the most unique players in the class of 26. 300 pounds, give or take, and he plays tight end. Yes, he plays tight end. Miami, Florida State, and numerous other programs went after him. But will it end up being any of those schools? Maybe Texas? Maybe it's somebody else. He's committed to the Gators, but Florida State made a hard run at him. Don't be surprised if Texas makes another run at him. Could end up on the offensive line, but he really is a very good athlete. He's one of the rarest guys at his size that I've seen. If you wanted to transition him to D-line, he could do that too. Hezzy Kent is a very talented player. Sticking in the state of Georgia, the kid that I saw at Rivals 5-star, Carson Baker out of Langston Hughes High School just south of Atlanta, elite speed at 200-plus pounds. He's one of the fastest players in the country, and Carson Baker is a guy that you could probably use in about any scheme. He can catch it. He's got the speed to score from anywhere, so that always works at running back. If you really wanted to, you could play him at safety or anything else. That's just a great athlete who's playing football. Committed to the Gators, Florida State, Georgia, numerous other programs went after him. I'm curious to see if he really wants to stick with that or he wants to open it back up. I know Florida State's been pretty interested in him, among others. Justin Williams. This one would hurt if you're a UF person. Slot receiver or a flanker. Very twitchy, athletic kid, productive. And he's from Gainesville and plays for Buchholz. That would hurt. Florida State's been trying to get after him. I don't know which programs he would visit if he did go out on the market, but I don't think that Mr. Williams would have many concerns about getting plenty of opportunities for offers. We'll see where that goes, but my guess is that he would be one of the most likely to stick with the Gators. Again, he's from Gainesville. We'll see, but it's not like he won't have opportunities. Nor will this last player that I'm going to mention, Caden Hall. He's from Milton, Florida, just outside of Pensacola, national recruit. Ohio State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Alabama, Florida State, you name it. If he picked up the phone, they would all listen. He had an offer probably from all those programs that I just mentioned, and he's just an elite safety. Very instinctive, knows where to be. He's got closing speed. He's got length. He's got height. Caden Hall's an elite player. I guarantee you Florida State, LSU, Auburn, Alabama, the schools a little closer to him, they're all going to come calling. Would not be at all surprised to see him take visits somewhere. Maybe if it's just unofficials because he's used a bunch of OBs already. But we'll see. Caden Hall's another one of those guys. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up somewhere other than the University of Florida. Now, final part here to the show. If you took nothing else, again, it's not if he's going to get fired, it's when. And there will be repercussions for Florida. The 2026 team won't be as talented. But if they're going to save anything here, it's about keeping guys on the staff. Maybe some of the back office guys and gals that work in recruiting, they got to do that. And then they got to work with the NIL to make it happen for the next coach. It's still, in my opinion, the UF job is one of the top 5 jobs in college football. Steadfast with that. Ohio State, Texas, Florida, Georgia. I'd say those are at least 4 of the 5. After that, you could pick several other schools for the next one, but those are the 4 I'm pretty steadfast with. Maybe Bama. All of those programs, it's just easy to recruit to. You got a lot of support. But kids are going to leave because they pick coaches more than they pick schools. So will UF be able to pick up any of the pieces if they change coaches? Remember, it's going to be about impossible because signing day is now early December. About the time the coaches officially let go and coaches elsewhere, because they're working, are brought in, signing day is already passed. So there's really no fixing the 2026 class. All hands on deck for 27 for UF. They should have a top 3 to 5 class. They absolutely should. If they hire the right coach and that individual brings on the right staff, front center. Like they got to get elite coaches. And the back office staff obviously needs to be elite as well. Again, this is a top 5 job. There is no reason that the Florida Gators are not a team that ends up with a top 5 class next year, really. We'll see. But right now, short term, in the 26 roster, it probably isn't going to be all that good. It just is what it is. So where will these guys go? How many will hit the portal? I don't know. It's what makes college football wild, and I enjoy covering it. But this weekend's game against Miami is where it starts. If the Gators get hammered and you start seeing some of those players waver in terms of their effort, the administration at UF knows it too. They're going to have a very difficult call. Now, if Florida surprises and that game is close, even if they lose, but if it's, they lose 31-24, then that's an advantage of them. They can push this down the road and avoid it for a while. We'll see. That doesn't mean current players won't want definitive public acknowledgement that Billy's going to be back, and that's where it gets dicey. Guys will magically be hurt so they can sit out because kids are going to want to know. They're not going to stick around for something they're not sure about and then waste a year of eligibility. So we'll see. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. We will see you again soon.